Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another practical leadership series with Terence here in Lumpia Bytes. So, last episode, we talked about how Terence pivoted from mechanical engineering to build a career in IT, data, and AI. Today, we go a step further. We'll talk about what it really means to lead transformation at scale, guiding people through change, leading multiple teams, and shaping a culture that adapts fast. And of course, how leadership is evolving in the age of AI. So if you're leading a team today or preparing to be a leader tomorrow, this conversation is for you. So, Terence, we're gonna dive straight into it. So you've led roughly like hundred of people, different teams, different agile squads. How would you describe that experience and going through that transformation?
Transformation is always a challenge, requires a lot of change management. And I wasn't just the one leading it, but I was part of that change. And I think the challenge there was really what were the pain points that we were trying to address at that time, and what was the objective or what was the goal that we were trying to get into.
Mhm.
So going from a setup where you have different teams having distinct roles and responsibilities and individuals that would tend to have overlapping responsibilities and trying to create a structure where all of the responsibilities are streamlined. People have clear mandates on who they are, what their role is within the team, and what they should be doing. And getting everyone on the same page, basically in terms of that structure. So that's what that's the transformation that we had in. Some of the key challenges during that time was one, understanding that structure. So it's one thing to tell people that, after this transformation, this is how an org is like, or this is the problems that will be solved. But realistically, you can never really appreciate or understand or see yourself in that structure until you're there. So you have to be able to trust in the process of that whole transformation. And at the same time, you have to understand the value or the benefits that you're trying to extract out of that transformation. So within our change, we grouped ourselves up into squads, and within each squad, there are key roles that we had to fill in, and we had to make sure that it was clear to everyone what the role of each person is. So this is an agile squad. So you have a typical product owner
Mhm.
that defines the what. And you would have a scrum master that defines the how within that squad. And you will have your set of developers that would be building independently. That group within the squad is all cross-functional. So that was the structure that we aim for. It's basic agile. And um, there was a lot of pushback by the different folks who would become members of that squad because people are used to working in certain ways. So as a in my role there as leading over the overall delivery, it was really to reinforce the mandate of each and every one of the squads on how each squad should be running. We had to simplify a lot of the processes and make sure that there is an old way of doing things, but this is the new way. You as a product owner, you have to focus only on this one. You as a scrum master, focus on this one. You as a squad, focus only on your mandate. Try not to overlap with all the rest. Um, and implementing the different processes, cadences to be able to make them successful. So again, drawing from the agile practice, having those daily stand-ups
Mhm.
and making sure that the leaders that oversee the squads would be able to surface all of the impediments and us as leaders to be able to address any and all of the challenges that are and communicating up to the management to be able to address all of that. So it took a lot of discipline for us, and it took a lot of explaining, a lot of change management, but we stuck to the process, and that's basically how the transformation happened.
So this transformation, it's basically transforming on how an organization do things today and moving them to more an agile approach. Is that right?
That is correct.
What do we consider as the biggest challenge? Is it process, or is it the technology, if there's a technology component out of it, or it's transforming the mindset of the people?
It's the last, definitely. It's transforming the mindset of the people. I mean, the processes are there. The best practices are there. You just have to implement and apply what makes sense. So there would be a time where you would already define the process, like you need to do daily stand-ups. You need to do weekly syncs. You need to sprint planning every sprint, right? It's the people that would question or maybe not understand as to why the processes are there. Like at the start of the whole process, either the stand-ups would take an hour, or some people would prioritize other meetings over stand-ups. And it's a usual problems that you have with the starting agile setup. And if you don't bring the understanding of the benefit that the process brings into the whole process, and get people to understand and buy into these changes that you're introducing, then that becomes a challenge for the success of the transformation. They won't be following, they would revert back to their old ways of working. And yeah, that would be derail any transformation effort you would
That's
have.
true. I mean, it's good. It's a good point that it's always the people, right? Sometimes it's really sometimes technology is kind of straightforward. The process, like what you said, the best practices are there, but it's the people, the mindset, the way of doing things. Changing that is always the hardest part. But what leadership mindset do you think were critical for you to be able to transform that mindset of the people, right? Addressing that people problem. What leadership mindset do you think were really help you or the team push it through?
It goes back to why you're doing what you're doing. Why was transformation important and key at that point in time? And always bringing it back there, right? So there was a certain way of doing things before. It led to us being slow and inefficient. There was a lot of red tape, for example. And you try to surface those as your motivation towards what you're trying to do and getting people to understand. So in the end, if everyone is on the same page as to what you're trying to accomplish, then compliance becomes easier, and people would work with you towards that growth. So what's it articulating also to them, what's in it for you, right? So yeah,
Yeah, so aligning
I think that
everyone with the goal of the team, the organization, the why, right, and why we're doing
yep.
this. Let's move a little bit to AI. I know you've gone from databases to data analytics to CRMs, right, and now AI. I remember when we were in HP, Oracle, row base, and then there was a time when Vertica came in. Vertica, oh wow, columnar database, right? But something new, kind of played around it, and then it progressed and progressed. You have unstructured data and all those things. But now AI, what excites you most about AI in your industry right now?
It really opens up the potential of what we can do and how to apply AI in the different use cases and challenges that we have. It's always fun to tinker and play around with it. when ChatGPT came out, everyone's playing around with it. Let it do some novel stuff here and there. I think that's all well and good, but try to imagine how to practically apply it to solve a business problem. For me, that is what motivates me. So how do I now look at Gen AI being able to generate conversations out of a statistical model? And, how does that solve something that we do in the office? Um, yeah,
So basically, what excites you is trying to understand what are the problems, current problems that you have that AI can solve. It's really exciting because especially if you're a problem solver, an engineering mindset, right? You want to solve things and you feel like that's exciting. So outside your work, what's the most exciting AI use case for you and what's your biggest fear in AI?
definitely it's in the space of education and something super relevant for the Philippines right now. So with Gen AI, it can definitely boost education, especially to those people who cannot afford a proper education. Because, with a Gen AI model, you could probably learn everything there, to be honest. So long as we're able to set it up in a way that whatever comes out of that Gen AI is factual. you know.
So-
Um, but yeah, and I think it's still very much untapped
Mhm.
in terms of how do we then leverage this technology and this approach to come up with tools that would be open for each and every Filipino out there, such that even as you don't have, um, we can't afford a proper education, you can't go to a proper school, maybe we can set up tools, software programs, an online site that allows for, you know, kids who want to learn, who want to be educated, to go from grade one all the way to grade 12 and, have that same opportunity as people who can afford a proper education. And I think Gen AI can play a very big role there. One interesting thing about Gen AI and how advanced it can be. So I think you guys know that my son actually joins math competitions,
Wow.
and he's come to the point where I already struggle to solve some of those questions. But you've also seen in articles that, Gen AI and some models can actually solve the most complex international math Olympiads questions out there. So even as simple as that, and being able to feed a question that I struggle with, I I was actually amazed to see how Gen AI can explain step by step the concept, what theorems, what techniques were used to solve certain problems. And it's actually been educational for both my son and I as we prepare for some contest. That, imagine a question that we couldn't answer before. Now there's something that can answer it. So imagine unleashing that potential to all of the Filipinos out there who can't afford education.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest potential, and for me, that hopefully someone picks up on it and does something for us there. And one of the things that scares me about AI is education as well. So,
It's a
so the
two-edged
same
sword,
tool,
right?
yeah. So I am scared if my children end up using Gen AI to shortcut their way towards, high school and college and just copy paste the answers here, do a project or an essay with Gen AI. And they would lack the level of resilience, the level of understanding that the older generations would have with regards to topics, the discipline of doing proper research. Um, so yeah, it's it's kind of scary how the new generations would end up getting, I would say, spoiled by the technology and the power that they have here. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I shared the same dilemma actually. With regard to that fear, because I feel like we're trying to remove the friction, a lot of friction on education and the way they learn, right? We want everything to be efficient, fast, but it's actually with that friction that people learns. We own that. We learn from failure. We learn from troubleshooting. We learn from debugging things, right? But if you remove that friction, everything is easy. Then what's gonna happen, right? So there's definitely a fear in that one, and I share that same fear with you. One last question for me before I move to Mooch. In terms of the leaders today, do you think leaders needs to be AI literate? Right? Everyone is moving to AI. I'm not sure in the Philippines on how deep into AI is it right now in the technology in the corporate, but everyone's moving there. Do you think leaders really need to learn AI, or they just need to rely on experts? Because this will change really everything. So do you think they have to be AI literate? Because I've known you as a technical person, someone who can roll his sleeves. Oh, come on, let's try to solve the issue, right? Because you have that technical background and that's a leverage. But other leaders doesn't have that. Even just the basic, just the foundation, they don't have that. But you think leaders should have AI foundations?
Absolutely, yes. And this is because AI is used in two ways, right? One is on how do you apply it to different business cases and use cases and be able to deploy something out that solves a business problem so that your company will be able to provide a service or use it yourself to improve on something. But on the other part, and I think where AI will play a lot in is in terms of internal productivity and enablement of the employees and of people in general. And that's where leaders should acknowledge that AI will change the way we work. And with that, every leader needs to understand the implications of AI to the workforce. So having that high level knowledge of what AI can and cannot do is very critical to understand, where will AI be applied at so that my workforce can be more productive. And we don't necessarily have to be afraid of AI. So definitely people are here to stay, but people will definitely be enabled by AI as a partner or as a enabling tool, which would make employees a lot more efficient. So in some way or form, the way we do our work now will change. Maybe it will take a lot less effort to do a lot more of the manual repetitive things as AI comes in. And yeah, leaders need to understand that.
That's a good one.
Terence, you're an engineer and a technologist at your core. So, to my knowledge of you, you're someone who clearly plays the long game when it comes to data and AI. But the reality of being a leader, especially when you're in that top category already, a leader, a director, especially in a large public organization, there's a lot of short-sightedness seen in that spectrum sometimes because you do have to have an annual report, you do have to have quarterly reviews and all of that. A lot of projects tend to get prioritized because they're an easy, quick wins. They're great for the reports and the annual reviews, but maybe not best for the company long term. So, from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest untapped opportunity when it comes to AI? Something that if you had the free range of doing it, you would do this because you think it would be for the long-term good of a company. Not necessarily where you work at right now, but for the long-term good. Like if you had the power, you would do this because it just makes sense. And what do you think is the biggest roadblock of getting that done in the reality of operating in, the kind of environments that we operate in?
You asked the toughest question, Fuji. Yeah. For me, there is still a lot of untapped potential in terms of your traditional AI and machine learning. That's as the conversation that you see in the news, social media, in the most advanced groups would tend to focus on Gen AI and its potential. Practically within organizations, there is still a lot of um, untapped data that can be used for machine learning, traditional machine learning, not even AI. So, um, my advice would always be to still focus on, you know, finding ways um, to leverage on your data more, extract more and more insight, knowledge, and information out of that data. Um, and at the same time, be able to understand how does AI and Gen AI use data and start transforming your data towards that. Because in the future, as you do more and more of these advanced AI use cases, your data also needs to transform. And that's more of the long game parts, making sure that you're able to structure and fix your data, etc. Where I am very cautious with, even as I am optimistic with, is on Gen AI itself. There's a lot of talk of what it can do, where it can bring us, but it's it's a very it's an area that is quickly evolving, and every year that you observe Gen AI and the progress has been very hard to keep up with, to be honest, right? So people are saying that you need to jump into it right now. If not, you will be left behind. And that's true as well. So maybe there needs to be that balance of, trying to still maximize the areas where, in my opinion, like machine learning, etc., that I feel is not yet fully tapped into, but it would benefit you to also learn and understand what Gen AI is and where it's headed and what you need to know at this point to be able to quickly adapt to it once you identify or understand the potential that it can bring to your organization.
Nice. I totally agree. And I totally agree that the long game of AI is having a good data discipline, which is what you're saying. Because
Yep.
that will having a good data discipline, data hygiene, data structure will be the foundation of what you would use to eventually train future AI models, right? Because the best AI models actually rely not like ChatGPT that can work with unstructured data and like a variety of data. The rest of AI doesn't work that way. And even OpenAI was trained, even ChatGPT was trained with a lot of high quality, the highest quality of data that you could get from humans, from researchers, and all of that. And they also had a lot of structured data, right? So that definitely is the long game, the foundation. What do you think is the biggest roadblock that will keep companies from reaping the benefits of that long game? Because, like, that's the boring work, Terence. Like, that's the work that nobody wants to do. Like, let's structure our data this year and that's what we're going to report to the board. Nobody wants to do that. What do you think is the biggest roadblock that will, like, that discipline will get deprioritized?
Well, definitely the boring stuff is something that we need to get into. But another major roadblock is on the availability of talent, for sure. So it's one thing to see the big companies be able to progress and come up with these amazing new approaches, but there's really a lot. of limitations in terms of how much people understand how to build AI products from the ground up. Um, it's very challenging to find the talent out there, even as you already have visibility on the global scale of talents or a global talent pool. I would tend to think that there's a lot of catching up in terms of talent to be able to just get towards what the very advanced companies are doing.
Yeah, that makes sense because even in the US, big tech companies, they're stealing talent from each other just to get ahead of that AI in building their own AI models within their company. So yeah, that makes sense. Huge roadblock. So actually for the folks who are looking for degrees, college degrees for their kids, data, AI, engineering, good. STEM, go STEM. My next question is that my prof in MIT, in AI strategies and roadmap, Professor David Martinez, super great guy. You guys would get along. He said that for AI adoption to really take root in a company, for that AI transformation to take root long term, you not just have to upskill the entire workforce, but you also have to embed really technical, AI trained transformers within teams that are technically traditional or are largely like non-technical people. So kind of like embedding a super spreader in a super spreader virus within a certain team in order to kind of accelerate and catalyze that all of those AI workflows, all of those AI projects within a certain team. So, do you agree that in order for there truly be to have an enterprise-wide AI transformation or adoption, that you kind of need to do both that to both upskill the workforce and embed people within those teams?
Yes, absolutely agree. And I would probably add also that there needs to be a specific AI strategy for the company as a whole. So, a strategy just to make sure that there is a certain direction in terms of how the company will start to embrace and evolve and upskill in AI, as well as to the point of your professor, for each and every one of those groups to have a respected AI expert or someone who can transform and speed up the adoption of AI in that group. So one challenge that we see is that, if you have a central team that knows AI, they probably would be challenged to understand how AI can be applied in each one of the individual groups. And if you're not able to link again the use case or how the business intends to benefit from AI to those who actually know AI, it will likely not work. It's best to have those people embedded into those respective groups. And that way, you can connect both ends together and really adopt AI via the creation of actual capabilities, actual use cases.
If that is the requirement of really having enterprise-wide AI transformation, you would need a lot of AI trained and AI technical people to embed in those. Because if you have only like a team of 10 or a team of 5 and you have 100 teams or like even just 50 teams that you need to embed in, I think the ratio of demand and proportion to where you need to embed them might be like too huge. So it goes back to the talent challenge, right? That if this were to be done, you would need more people who can create those business cases, find use cases that are truly relevant for those business functions. That actually segues to my next question, which is with this incoming kind of quiet. Actually, in the Philippines, I've kind of noticed that it's not as wild as the talent war here in the US. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've observed. But at the same time, there is a growing demand, or I feel that there's a growing demand for people who have cross-functional talents, meaning talents that are combining two functions, either AI and finance, AI engineering and finance, engineering or some data science and accounting, data science and marketing, right? Because you have marketing people who are good in comms, but you don't have marketing people who are good in data. You need that technical cross functionality, I guess, with talents nowadays. You came from engineering, you went into tech and data. I came from tech, went into like random things in the world. I came from tech, went to marketing and entrepreneurship. In your experience, or in how you've led and crafted your career, what's your advice to people who are looking at AI maybe from a different function but is excited to get into this, and it's like, yeah, I want to lead the AI workflows for my accounting team, or yeah, I want to lead the AI workflows for my procurement team because this is a very, very lucrative career. What do you advise them? Where do they start? How do they learn? How do they suddenly become a procurement engineer, right?
Yeah, so definitely go for it. There are a lot of introductory courses out there, so that's definitely one. Being able to understand what AI can do for you. Playing around with ChatGPT is very probably step one in a series of steps that you can take. But yes, being cross-functional and starting to incorporate some bit of tech into what you already know, like for example for marketing, etc. It does make a lot of sense. And if you are able to position yourself as the bridge that allows to transform whatever your group is and be able to adopt AI, and I think that gets you to a very unique position to really push for transformation of your group and how you do things. There is a wealth of information out there for you to be able to do that. Just start, once you figure out what AI can do, ask questions or try to link together what is a practical way for AI to help me solve this problem in my space right now. I'm spending a lot of time generating images, generating spheres. What can I do? Is there an AI tool for this? And just expand and push the boundaries in terms of where you believe you can apply AI.
Great, great. Thank you. And last question on my side. I've been teaching AI like to small, medium enterprises and some business leaders in corporate. And my role has so funny that I've kind of functioned somewhat as a messenger between the C-suite and the rest of us folks, the rank and file, the middle managers, and so. So I get to see the excitement of the C-suite and the fear in rank and file employees and middle management, which is so funny. So the C-suite offhand is very excited, in my opinion, and what I've seen, they're very excited about AI. I mean, if you tell leaders that you could lower your costs and increase your productivity, who wouldn't be excited about it, right? But there is a silent but brewing anxiety in the rank and file and middle management. Do you see this? And what do you think is a leader opportunity there?
Definitely, there are concerns in terms of AI replacing all of us, and I think that's a common theme in a lot of conversations about the potential of AI. I think for leaders, even as the excitement and the potential is there, and there would be some data that would prove it, we have to stay grounded in terms of what it can actually deliver. So my advice is let's not get overboard with how much Gen AI can do or AI can do, right? Let's put it in practical uh, in a practical point of view, and slowly get into tackling the most challenging problems where AI can be practically applied. For the rank and file, there needs to be a recognition of a transformation also that needs to happen, right? So, as people, we have to evolve and improve our skills. Otherwise, technology, before it was automation, now it's AI that's catching up to us. And if we don't improve, if we don't evolve, then there is reason for us to feel anxious, right? But if you see a potential and if you understand how AI can help you, then you would end up embracing AI and be that person that can boost your own productivity by leveraging on what AI can bring for you.
So basically, tough love. Tough love. They're a very Terence thing to do. Get with the program, tough love. This is gonna happen. But if you evolve and improve, then there is a future for you. Okay, thank you,
You
Terence.
have to evolve to survive.
Yeah, we have to evolve, survive, and thrive. I agree completely. Cool. Thank you, Terence. Back to you, Fush.
These are very, very good insights. Terence, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experience with us. I know in the future we're gonna look back on this podcast and we'll always be grateful and humbled that you're here as our very first guest, sharing your leadership journey and your career journey and just leadership insights on AI. Best of luck in your career, and thank you for continuing to inspire leaders and tech professionals everywhere, regardless of generations.
Comment, what business should we start? Let's start something big. Let's start the next unicorn.
Yeah, that's a good one. Comment in the link below on what you
Comment
wanted
in
to
the link
start
below.
up. Thank you, Terence and Mochi.
Thank you, Terence. Thank you.
Thank you so much.